Okay, so Mr. White, let's make a podcast. Let's show everyone how to use the regression on their calculator.
Well, first, who's here? Who's with us?
There's Miss Koss here. Say hi, Miss Koss.
Hello.
Hello, and none other than Mr. Curvis.
Yep.
Hello. All right, let's get started, Miss Martin.
Okay, so the first thing we need to do to calculate a regression is to get some data into our calculator.
Okay.
So let's go to Start button, and go to Edit, and we're going to put some data in.
Miss Martin, I've got all this junk in here.
Okay, so what you need to do, you need to arrow up to the top of the list, and you have to be very careful. You need to press the clear button, not the delete button. Okay, so press clear and then press enter.
Or down works too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There we go.
Okay.
It's closer to the clear button.
Okay. All right.
But I'll just push it.
Let's get rid of that data as well.
What?
Clear?
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
All right. So now we can enter our data in. Let's just put a few points in.
Okay.
All right. And then in list 2, we want to put some random data in, whatever our question gives us.
Cool.
Okay, so now let's see if we can come up with our regression equation.
Okay.
So from here, we're going to go to Stat again, and into Calculate. Now there's 2 options there. Mr. White, you want to remind me again of what the difference is between those 2?
Gladly, Miss Martin. Okay, we've got 2 options here. Number 4 is a linear equation, or linear regression, and number 8 is a linear regression. Statisticians like to think of regression or linear regressions as a starting point plus then the rate that we increase or decrease at. And then number 4 is what more of the mathematicians like, which is the traditional mx plus b, slope plus the y-intercept. So, which one do we like?
Let's go with the statisticians. We're doing a stats portfolio at the moment.
Okay.
So.
Here we go. Miss Koss,
Yes.
now what?
Okay, you've got to tell the calculator which list you want to be working with.
Mm-hmm.
So since I believe you stored the data in L1 and L2, you want to put those lists in. And you'll notice that your lists are located above the number button. So if we want L1, you're just going to push second, 1, comma, L2.
So that's X list, comma Y list. So if you have your X list in L4, you're going to have to put in L4 and then L5 if that's where your Y list is. Okay, so push enter. Good. Thanks, Ms. Koss.
Okay, so now we've got our equation. Let's see if we can draw a graph of this and then plot that line with our graph. So we need to go to second and stat plot again, which is just above your y equals button. So you need to turn your plot on. Okay, make sure you've got a scatter graph selected, and then make sure you've got your X list and Y list set as the 2 columns you entered your data in back at the beginning. Okay, right, we're good, so we can go to the next step. Let's now set up our window.
Mr. Curvis?
0 to 12 looks pretty good. Y min, 0, 25. I believe our Y values went a bit higher, possibly 35, wasn't it?
Yeah, close. Yeah. So 35 maybe? I always put a little bit more so we can see everything. Okay.
Cool. Okay. So now we can go to graph and see what it looks like. Cool. So we've got our points plotted. Now let's get our line. So we need to go to y equals, which is just up there. And we're going to enter in the equation. So we go to variables, bars, and down to number 5, which is statistics. And from there, you can select an equation, and it'll tell you to do the regression equation. All right, so now we've got that. If we go to graph, we can see it on the screen. but that'll only work if you've already calculated the regression line. You have to calculate it first in order to see it.
Right
Cool.
here. You must have done this step first. Okay, so
Cool.
graph. What can we do with this?
Ms. Cost is
Ms.
the
Cost?
expert on that.
Jeez.
Okay, well, let's just make sure that all the values are there. We can look at the values by pressing the trace button, and that when you scroll to the right, it just jumps from point to point. Now, if you want to go back to your line, then you just have to press down, right? And then we're now in our line. Okay. Now, what do we do if we want to calculate how far the point is from where it should be according to the equation? Mr. White, what do we do?
Okay, well, what we do is we basically want to find out what the predicted value is versus our actual value. So we go second, calculate. Let's say we want to find out what the predicted value, which is the value on the line, is away from the point. We just go value, and then maybe put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5, and that's not very far off. Well, it's pretty close, but it's 15.9 is our predicted value. And if I push trace and go back over to 5, it was 16.4. So that's about 0.5 off, and that's how far your predicted value is off of your actual value. And that's regression.
Cool.
Anything else?
No, I think that's done.
This is Mr. White.
Ms. Martin?
Miss Goss?
Mr. Curvis?
Thank you.